One is not on Netflix. But there is stranger things out there. But do you want me to tell you 13 reasons why Formula One should be on Netflix? Because everybody watches it. Are you still watching TV? Well, you're old. You're old school generation. The new generation, the cools, even us in our 20s are watching Netflix. It's taken over the world. And we've talked about TV before, but Netflix is the way forward. And of course Amazon and HBO, Hulu, online streaming services. And actually, yeah, that's why. I mean, Sky, when they brought in the new box for entertainment, they brought in Netflix, and they know people watch that. And of course, a lot of things are expanding to the online platform. As we just started there with our terrible quiz there, things like Stranger Things, 13 Reasons Why, a Netflix original series. Now, of course, they're just, American fantasy, things to like, and don't really have to put much thought. Not real world, nothing to do with sport. But as I said at the start, there's no Formula One. There is a little bit, and there's something called Stranger Things. Something called Drive to Survive. It's in its second series, or it's just finished its second series even, and it has enthralled people, not just Formula One fans, but sports fans and even just Netflix fans all around the world, into more in depth about this amazing sport we have. Now, as Formula One fans, you probably know it isn't 100% accurate. There's a lot of things that just aren't right, they aren't on the button. A lot of Formula 1 fans can debunk things, but it is quite entertaining to see, drivers and teams behind the scenes, such as why they dropped Gasly this season, and of course Gunter Steiner, his time to shine. Actually, I don't even think he wants to be in Formula 1, I think he just wants to be on Netflix. So we have Drive to Survive, 2 seasons of pretty good entertainment, but of course that is over now. We're heading into the real Formula 1 season now. It got us thinking. Now Formula 1, of course, is very accessible on the TV. You have things like Sky Sports, and of course you can buy passes through things like Now TV and things. Channel 4 are still showing highlights. It's accessible, but in a way it's not, because of course in the olden days you had things like BBC and ITV, a lot more Formula 1 services, and actually free Formula 1 services to watch have gone away now. And with the introduction now of Formula 1 TV, of course, again another added subscription service, we think now, is Formula 1 moving to online streaming services? And should things like Netflix and Amazon and Apple TV even, of course, just quite a new, and I'd say quite entertaining, new platform, again giving us new Apple TV original series, should Formula 1 move to that, things like Netflix and things like that? Now, Jordan, I know that you watch a lot of Netflix, so does a lot of people, and as I said there, if you don't watch Netflix, you are old. So Netflix, it's entertaining. I know that I spend a lot more time watching that than TV. So Formula 1, if we put races on there, actually I tell you what, before race, let's start with just normal behind the scenes, more behind the scenes. Okay. So we've seen Drive to Survive, but more behind the scenes, paddock, more interviews, things like that. Do you think that would be good for Formula 1 to get more access and to give more to fans who might not watch, who might not actually click on the Formula 1 on a weekend? Do you think that would help the sport? And also why? And then also what would it bring in more for Formula 1? And would it be more accessible for people watching Formula 1 who, have Netflix subscriptions already?
I think as well, Drive to Survive is a really good introduction to fans who maybe aren't necessarily, that knowledgeable about Formula 1. They would have heard of it, but they don't really know what it exactly is. Now, Drive to Survive is like, for example, it brings out the best in kind of both fans in a way. You've got them really passionate ones who do love Formula 1, like ourselves, who we like to see the behind the scenes stuff, you know what I mean, like about like you said there, like Gasly being dropped, and like what the managers are saying about each other and stuff like that, and what goes on after the checker flag has fallen. But then you've got the whole dramatic race between, like, prime example, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. That wasn't really for us because we know the outcome, we know who wins. Spoiler alert, it was Lewis Hamilton. But those who, like I said, don't know Formula 1, they're watching it going, wow, this is actually gripping stuff. Like, who is going to win? Adding that bit of Hollywood, and that does draw people in, because that, in a way, is what Formula 1 is like to a certain degree. I mean, it's not like that all the time. But I have seen comments where I've got through Formula 1 because of Netflix Drive to Survive, and that's really good, and I'm pleased to hear it, because we do need new fans. We need the younger generation to watch Formula 1. But for me, it isn't enough. It's not going to drag people in straight away. For some people, it might just go, not interested whatsoever. And yes, it's not going to please to everyone's taste buds in a weird way. Don't need Netflix don't. Just stick to food. But you know what I mean? Like, people aren't going to necessarily, you know, watch it out of interest. But if you're like I said, like a casual fan who, like I said, knows Formula One and maybe knows a couple of drivers, or maybe your dad watches it, or your brother watches it to a certain degree, or some sort of family member, or even a friend, you know, or work colleague watches it, and you go, I might just watch it and just see what the hype is all about. But like, Drive to Survive can get you to so far, but it's like going the rest of the way. Like, if you look at, you know, for example, you go, right, okay, I've watched Drive to Survive. I really like Formula One. How do I watch it every single week? Or I want to know a little bit more about the sport. How does the weekend format? Who the teams are? Who the drivers are? So when you look at all that, you go, right, okay, I want to watch a Grand Prix. It's like £40 a month subscription to some countries. It varies in other countries, and there are some countries still that show free-to-air Formula One. But here in the UK, it's only Sky who mainly show all live races, and Channel 4 show the highlights, barring one Grand Prix, which is of course the British Grand Prix, which they show live. And I think that's still the case in 2020, and the other races will be highlights. But you're not going to pay £40 a month to watch every single race in a sport that you're not interested in. And or to a certain degree, like if you're slowly getting into something, you're not going to pay all out loads of money into something. You know, you want to gradually get into it, because like it's a lot at the end of the day. To some people it's a lot, and you're like, I'm not going to watch it, and then you just forget about the interest and move on to something else. To have now, I know that it's not as easy as just to go, oh, I think Formula One should get Netflix should get Formula One because of this and this. Because there has to have, obviously Netflix have to pay Formula One, Sky I think they have to have some sort of say because they hold the major rights. I believe they've got a contract until 2024. I think they signed that deal back in 2016, was like what, $150 million, I think it was. That's a lot of money. So and pretty much killed off free to air Formula One in some sort of way. So shame over here, and the sport is slowly losing fans, and we are seeing some really good racing, and that's what people are trying to do. Is, you know, like Formula One is like trying to create these cars, make entertaining racing, but if people aren't watching it because it's not affordable, then we're wasting our time. You know, like fans like ourselves, like, all right, races aren't going to be entertaining every single week, but we're still going to be tuning in every week to watch it because we're passionate Formula One fans. We're from the younger generation from ITV and BBC when it was free to air. Nowadays, it's not. Unless your parents pay a subscription, you know, and you casually watch it, then all right, you might get into it that way. But not everyone is going to have Sky. Not everyone's going to be watching Formula One. I even said this to Lyle the other day. I was saying, like, you know, kids back in the day would scroll through the channel planner on Sky or whatever, or Freeview, and stumble across Formula One because it was on the telly. But these days, how many kids watch actual TV? Or the younger generation, I say kids more like, you know, our age and possibly older and a bit younger, who watches normal TV anymore? Not a lot of people do. They're all watching Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, and other forms of streaming platform. Legal streaming, by the way. And if there's nothing there to get them into Formula One, or if there's like nothing there, you know, Formula One related, they're not going to stumble across it. Yes, they got Drive to Survive, but like I said, it's not enough. There needs to be more. And what you said there earlier, Lal, about having, you know, other forms of highlights and stuff like that, I think that would be a pretty neat idea. Maybe not like race highlights, because, you know, people who are just casual fans aren't going to really watch them because they're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know how the rules work. But maybe something on the lines of like documentaries, like more about Formula One itself rather than behind the scenes stuff, understanding the sport more. I mean, if you're like a casual Formula One fan who is watching this, welcome. There's a documentary called One. Now, it is a bit old, it did come out about 6-7 years ago, so it is slowly out of date, but it gives you a really good insight about the history of Formula One and why it's such a passionate sport. And I think we need a revamp on that. Put it out on Netflix, put it out on Amazon, draw even more people in, and then go forward from that and get a streaming, system on the go or something like that. I know that you've got F1 TV Pro, which is a really good idea, but it's not available in every single country because, again, of commercial rights or whatever it is. And not only that, you're not going to pay, again, if it's just for Formula One, you're not going to pay, like, if it is like, I don't know, how much is it, £15 a month, or it might be less, it might be more, I don't know. But if it is around that, you're still not going to pay £15-20 or dollars on something that is just plain about Formula One, again, that you're not too passionate about. But if you put it on something like Netflix, where there is other options to watch, like you've got, like you know, Lyle said, there's Stranger Things, 13 Reasons Why, and what's that one? Other things. What's that one that everyone's craving about now? Was it not Lion King? What's it called? Tiger King. Is it Tiger King? I don't know what it is.
Well,
something like that. Yeah, I don't watch it.
It shows how much you watch of Netflix.
I don't watch that. Like what is the Joe Exotic, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So like, if you put like Formula One on Netflix, let's say in hindsight, in an alternative universe, then people could be watching. All right, I might watch this Formula One live or whatever. I might say what it is, because you're paying for Netflix because there's other things to watch, like comedies and horror and drama and other kind of things. It becomes more available. So like, and you know, like I said, you could just stumble across it. Oh, what's this Formula One? Like, if you watch something about sport, like there's loads of sport documentaries about NFL, basketball, football, whatever. It'll then recommend you. Okay, you like this? Do you like this? Oh, Formula One. You know what I mean? Like, and it helps you like find other forms of series and stuff. And that's kind of the pitch that I'm kind of telling others to. I'm not telling anyone to do it, but that's the point I'm making. Like, people aren't going to pay just for something that they're not entirely passionate about. Like, I'm a casual fan of what? Let's say darts, let's say, for example, on a prime example. I wouldn't pay a yearly subscription just to watch darts. I like darts, but I'm not massively passionate about it. But that's not, you know, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't pay that. So if you're a guy who has watched F1, like on Channel 4 for the highlights, which is good, but it's not the same as live. It really, really isn't. There's a big difference between watching the highlights and watching the race live. And that's a problem. You might get into it through Channel 4, but I really, but again, once that drops, when eventually it does drop, how else are you going to watch Formula One? How else are you going to watch it? And as well, other households might not want to pay the subscription to for Sky for Formula One, so therefore you're not going to be able to watch it. I've ranted on for quite a bit there. I do apologise about the rant. I just want to get my point across really there, because I've had this on my mind for quite some time. Lyle, you know, like Formula One and Netflix. Do you think that this is the answer, or a part of the answer, to allowing younger generation Formula One fans, or the next generation of F1 fans, in a way, to get into the sport?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that I noticed was, so for example, the Last Dance, new original Netflix series. And firstly, actually, just when John was saying there about the availability of other things on there, you can also, of course, have repeats of movies and things like that, but also the original series, that's what draws them in, because things like Stranger Things you would never get on Apple TV or Amazon or even Sky. You'll never come onto Sky, so it doesn't matter how much of a fan you are, you'll never get it on Sky. You have to get Netflix. So for example, The Last Dance, of course, which is about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and things like that. Again, people are getting an interest in that, and you know, people who I wouldn't have even thought were interested in basketball, you know, it just seems like they're interested in. And when I saw some, I've forgotten who it was, I think it was one of the members of WTF1 or something, you know, mentioned it, went on about it. Oh, this is an amazing documentary. Actually, no, it was Will Buxton. Sorry, it was Will Buxton. He said, "Oh, what an amazing documentary." It got us thinking. I was like, I don't imagine he's a basketball fan, or he was a massive fan of, you know, the Chicago Bulls in like '92. I think it was when they won the you know, national championship. It's just because it was on Netflix, he's watched that stuff, and yeah, exactly. You know, you watch things like things that you wouldn't normally watch. I mean, again, going off Amazon, when I used to have Amazon around Christmas time, when I got a free month. Thank you, Amazon. Obviously, I watched the All or Nothing series, which were about NFL. So obviously, at first I watched Dallas Cowboys, of course, first, and they had other teams as well, Arizona, Carolina, things like that. But then they also had other things as well. So I watched the Manchester City one, I watched the New Zealand All Blacks one, and just before, I think it was about 3 days before it actually lapsed my subscription, they brought up one on Andy Murray. Now, I'm not saying I would have watched the Andy Murray one, because again, I'm not a massive fan of tennis, but I probably would have. You know what I mean? And then you would have had people who would have had another go, and you know, watching Andy Murray and thought, well, like, yeah, I don't watch him in Wimbledon, I don't really know much about him, but because I've watched this amazing, you know, 3-part, 4-part, 5-part, 6-part documentary on him, I'm kind of hooked, and I know a lot more about his career. So it definitely gets people involved, and yeah, Drive to Survive will have definitely well, hopefully, brought people to, like Formula One. And again, as you said there, Jordan, it will have come up on the front screen of Netflix, because that's just how it does. I mean, again, I think it was yesterday or a few days ago, this new this new series, which is based in London, came up. I wouldn't have watched it. I would have never found it if it was on Sky or something. But again, it came on the front screen, so I watched it, and that happened loads of times before for me. So it does get you involved, and hopefully it does make people want to watch it. But let's move on to not just casual Formula One fans, but real hardcore Formula One fans. Of course, Jordan said there, you can get F1 TV Pro. Again, yeah, you're right. Some countries don't allow some footage. I think you can get most of it in the UK, but it's a little bit hit and miss. And for the prices, when I looked it up online, it said it was around $8 to $12 US. Again, it'll vary, I imagine, from country to country, and it does have its problems. Again, going off people that we see on Twitter and Facebook and things who do have it, they do see a lot of problems around it. But I wanted to say that this comparison I found, I want to go on about it. So in America, if you want to watch the NFL, for a full NFL season, 17 weeks plus playoffs, it's done on different channels. So you've got NBC might be showing 1 week, of your team. Then the next day it'll be NBC. Then the next day it'll be Fox. Then the next week it'll be ESPN and things like that. And of course they take turns to show it. So you're going to be hitting and missing on different games that you want to watch. But if you get an NFL TV game, so you've got the NFL Game Pass, which again I don't know how much it is, but it's probably about $30, $40 for the entire season. You can watch the entirety of all of your games on this Game Pass, and that's kind of what Formula One have done. So Jordan, obviously, taking away things like some countries don't allow it, but of course that's just live. I mean, like YouTube is that's banned in certain countries, certain videos are banned. You're never going to get around that. So just ignore that for the minute. F1 TV Pro, it allows people to watch basically all the access they need. And again, like you just said there, about Sky and Sky Sport, Sky F1, they show all the races and they show all the highlights and stuff like that. They show the before the race, after the race, things like that. But if you don't have that subscription, then you can't watch Formula One. And of course also, if you just want to watch Formula One, you're not going to pay for other things. So if you only like Formula One as a sport, and you don't want to watch other things, you're not going to pay all that money for your subscription, your Sky Sports subscription. So this option is giving you the option, Jordan, to pay for one sport that you want to watch. And let's say, you're a proper Formula One fan, which you are not, I'm joking. You've got the opportunity to pay for one subscription that you want to watch. Do you think it's worth it that you have, the entirety of the season, all the access, on your computer, basically just the one sport that you want for, say $12 a month? Do you think that's the best idea for Formula One, and in a way that that's the best way it should move to, an online platform where people do have the option to not go for Sky but go for the online option of F1 TV Pro? What do you think?
I think it gives a good insight to what is going on. It provides lap times and proper data analysis and stuff like that, and it's really for those that are really geeky about Formula One, about the tech side of things, and it allows you to go into and access all kinds of things, and just expand your brain to however big you want it to, and it's really, really good for that. And also as well that you can watch archive season reviews and stuff like that. I don't think you can watch all of them. I think there's certain seasons you can watch, rewatch, and of course you can watch some really classic races. And it does allow you to go back in time and go, right, okay, I want to watch this race, but how do I do it? How do I watch? How do I watch it? The 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, for example. I want to relive the Maldonado moment, but how do I do that? Well, this allows you to go and do that, and I think it's a really, really good option. But the problem is though is that it's not it does allow you to watch the races live on this, but like I said, only in certain countries. So over here in the UK, it probably is worth your money. It is a lot cheaper, of course, than it is to watch Formula One on Sky, but you can't watch the races. I don't think you can have the onboard cameras as well. I don't think you are. I think was it Chris Medland was on about it last year. He posted a picture and said it was somebody high in the F1 media, and he posted it and basically said, why can't F1 have these graphic designs, or the layout? I think it was a lot easier to understand. I think Alex Yates was doing the commentary on that with somebody else, Julian Palmer, it might have been, I could be wrong, but I know Alex Yates was commentating over this overlay, but the UK viewers couldn't view it because of the licensing, because Sky have got their own alternative, or their own version of it, which is in with your subscription. Your subscription, I believe. But again, I could be wrong with that one. But you know what I mean. Like, so that is a bit of a bummer in that sense. But in terms of going forward, I think online is definitely the way to go because, like you said there earlier, like everyone's watching Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and other things, and eventually, I would imagine TV one day will completely die off. I think TV will still be around, but I think a lot of things is like moving towards Netflix. Like you can buy TV now and it's already got Netflix installed, Amazon installed, and other things installed. Even YouTube, we haven't talked about YouTube in this sense. And Formula One is doing a really good job at putting out top 10 moments of a certain Grand Prix. And over the long break that's been the Formula One 2020 season, the transition between the two seasons, they've been showing classic Grand Prix, which has been amazing. I absolutely love it. I do hope they're right because they shown the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix last week, so I'm hoping that they do continue this and show the previous year's Grand Prix at the weekend of the current Grand Prix. So when Silverstone rolls around, I hope that they show last year's race. And of course Hungary, that's before Silverstone. I hope they show last year's Hungary. Yeah. And I know if they do go to races like Algarve or Imola or even what's the other one? Mugello, they can't. Well, Imola they could, but other tracks they can't because they've never been there before, or even way back in like the 1930s or whatever, even before Formula One existed. But
or TV.
Yeah.
That's another problem.
But Formula One, it is kind of going in that direction of online. Ever since Liberty took over, there's been a lot more access. You can view more, you can interact more with Formula One. But when Bernie had it, it was a lot stricter. Like you couldn't go on YouTube and find, you could to some level, but not as many like big overtakes or top 10 moments or whatever. Like you couldn't have all that, and Liberty Media have done a good job in accessing that to other people, which again for the newer fans it could enlighten them to go into Formula One because a lot of people watch YouTube, but the problem is with the YouTube scene as well. Like for us passionate fans, it's brilliant because there's the world's an oyster with that. There's loads of things on there with official Formula One footage. But for the newer fans, if you're not searching for Formula One, or if you haven't searched for anything to do with sport or for whatever, or like if you're searching for football or you watch football videos or NFL videos or whatever, then you're not going to get Formula One because you're not searching for it. Unless it on the unlikely chance, I don't know, like David Beckham does a lap with Lewis Hamilton, then that might crop up. You might discover it there. But if you're not searching for it, it's not going to come up. It's not going to come up on your feed. It's going to give you more football videos and more NFL videos. And another thing as well, I think what would be really cool is taking away. To be fair, this might not be it might not make any sense to some people. But if you take Channel 4's YouTube, Channel 4's coverage of Formula One and put it on YouTube, so the paid subscription, you like for Netflix, you can watch it live on Netflix or Amazon or wherever. And then if you want to watch the highlights and you've missed it and you don't have any of that, you can watch it for free on YouTube, just the highlights. That works for me. Does it work for you, Lyle?
Well, Formula One has its own. Formula One has its own highlights. I was just thinking there, Jordan. Formula One has its own highlights. So,
it has its own highlights, but that it's like it's even less than what it is on Channel 4. Channel 4 shows about 80% of the race. The highlights probably show 60% of the race, and you're not gonna see like the pit stops or whatever, like the strategy change or whatever, or even the safety car. It'll just skip it out. So, but if you watch it on like proper highlights like you do on Channel 4, then you get to see a lot more. But yeah, Formula One do their own highlights. It's just very key snippets of big things that happen. They don't cover every single thing. Channel 4 cover more than that. But I think moving that online to YouTube would be good. I think good going forward. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that would be good, to move to YouTube. Mainly, I mean, YouTube was of course seen as a platform for free entertainment, and it was as well, and it's probably, hopefully, that's how you found us. But now everything is becoming paid for. So for example, channels do give you free content, of course, but then they'll say, well, I'll offer you paid content as well, obviously much bigger channels than us, for example. And also now YouTube have employed the YouTube subscription, and with that you get ad-free videos and you get other exclusive content, but of course you have to pay. And that's the same for everything as well. There is other memberships that you can get out there, and of course things like Netflix and Amazon you have to pay for. So for a fan, it is good to see that Formula One and sport would be moving on to YouTube. But then you've got to think, how are they going to make money? How can anyone make money from you watching that thing? So the question to you, Jordan, I had is, so we've discussed that Netflix moving to Formula One. Netflix going on to, Formula 1 going on to, actually I've got two, so I've just thought of another one. So right. Formula 1 going on to Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. Goes on to Netflix, and yep. So in the UK, for a standard price of Netflix and a HD, you get it on a few device, things like that, it's £8.99 a month. Formula 1 goes on to Netflix, and I say Formula 1, and I mean like the full 21 race calendar or whatever, the full, so 21 as in it's 8 right now, but the full normal 28 calendar, the full season calendar, including things like like just normal access, before, during, after the paddock, basically just another Sky Sports F1 on Netflix, which obviously in turn would entice you, because of course you would be watching Netflix 100%, like you'd be watching the Formula 1, but it would also get people watching the race and watching things that again they wouldn't have, so people that would have found this through recommendations and things like that. But you can't get this for free, so the price goes from $8.99 to, let's say, I think for a full sport, you would probably be looking at something around maybe £18 to £20 a month. Mm-hmm. Would you be happy with that? You've got other things as well, they come with that, but the price goes up, over 100% what it already is. Mm-hmm. Would you be happy with that? And, just one last thing, and if you weren't a Formula 1 fan, would you still do that? So tomorrow, Formula 1 say, we'll partner up with Netflix, and we're going to be showing races on Netflix. We're also going to be showing races on Sky. Of course, that's not going to change. That'll be there almost to the end of time. But to entice people, we're going to be showing the races on Netflix. They're one of the only sports, if not the only sport, to do this. And the price goes up to, as I say, that price. You might pay that as a Formula 1 fan, or how would would you pay that? Would Formula 1 fans pay that? But the other question is, if you weren't a Formula 1 fan, would you pay that? Because yes, you'd be getting Netflix and all the things that you normally watch on there, Netflix original series, movies, stuff like that, and just an easy form of watching. That's one thing we haven't discussed. Netflix, out of everything, the reason why people like us so much is it's easy to watch. When you're watching a series, it'll just play the next episode on and on and on again. It'll pull up recommendations. It's incredibly easy accessibility compared to, as John said at the start there, about the old form of Sky, the going through the planner, finding live TV to watch, either recording or maybe even before then, waiting for it to start at 2 p.m. and things like that. So for a fan who isn't a person who isn't a fan of Formula 1, John, would they pay £20 a month to get Netflix, and a big chunk of what they're paying for they're not even going to watch, or they might watch, for just they might just watch it a little bit. They might not even watch it at all. Some people might loathe Formula 1. So what do you say to that? This, let's say it's gone from £8.99, £9 a month to £20 a month. Exclusive Formula 1 on Netflix. What do you say to them? Those two statements for Formula 1 fans and not Formula 1 fans. Is it worth it on Netflix, or would they look at things like F1 TV or just Sky F1? Because obviously you're not going to get it for free. So what would you say to those two statements?
First one, yes. Second one, no. So obviously, yes, if you already have Netflix and it goes up in price because of Formula 1, then actually I'll start with this first of all. I know we are referencing Netflix a lot, and you're probably thinking, well, there are other platforms that could possibly stream on. We're just using it as a reference. I personally think if it was to go online, I think it would go to Amazon, because that's more sport based rather than Netflix, because Netflix don't show any live. I don't think they've ever shown any live TV.
That's another good thing as well. So if you that's another good thing then, John, just quickly, sorry. If you, again, one of the reasons why I got Amazon as well, I got the free month, is if you have Netflix, you're not going to be able to watch the stuff on Amazon. If you have Amazon, you're not going to be able to watch Netflix. And only a small amount of people out there probably have both, because obviously they are expensive, both bundles together. So it really is, I would say, one of the other kind of thing. And so again, and also just elaborate that on what you said there, Jordan, about it going to Amazon, and you have Netflix right now. Would you sacrifice Netflix for Amazon? And of course, in both ways, so a Formula One fan and a not Formula One fan.
I would say I'll go back. I'll go back to the first point that you made in the fact that, so let's say like Formula One is. Let's say it does go to Netflix, for example, right? Let's say it does, and of course the price is going to be going up because the rights for Formula One are very expensive. So Netflix have to get that kind of thing back. Even if it's not live races, even if it is highlights for whatever, then the price will still go up because, like I said, it's very expensive to get some rights in Formula One. So for us F1 fans, it would be good that we would be willing to pay that and go, right, okay, it's a bit of a step up, it's a bit of a steep, but it's not as expensive as other platforms. So yeah, I would take it. The other people who aren't a fan of Formula One, they won't be happy whatsoever. So, and yeah, they could just pull the plug and go, you know what, I'm not watching Netflix, I'm not paying for something that I'm not going to watch, like what's the point? And I know this is like totally irrelevant, but I've seen it all the time when, for example, if you're watching a TV program on, let's say, normal everyday TV, and then sometimes the England match will come on, I would say people on social media kicking off because, not literally by the way, kicking off because they're not watching their TV program because the football is on. So therefore they'll be like, emailing ITV, what the hell's going on? And in that same thing, you would go, well, I'm not paying for something that I'm not going to watch. I'm going to go Netflix and give them hell. But I think what Netflix could do is up the price about a month before they announce Formula One, and then go, right, okay, we're bringing in Formula One, and just sugarcoat it all. And then, but like I said before, like Netflix, it's not really a live TV kind of thing. It's more of a documentary film kind of thing. Netflix, it's a whole thing, internet film thing, you know what I mean? That's the name, Netflix. Amazon is like, it can show live football. It has been showing live football before the pandemic and during the pandemic, and it's pretty good, and it's showing other kinds of sports as well, like what Lau said before when he was watching the documentaries and stuff like that. So I would say that's more sport orientated, and if there's ever a channel or a streaming service that Formula 1 would go to, it would be Amazon. And Lila, you said that before about sacrificing Netflix for Amazon. I would bid off Netflix and go to Amazon because I want to watch Formula 1. Even if it's £10-15 more, I would do anything to watch Formula 1. I mean, I don't have Sky here, but say I pay for the Now TV passes, so whenever they're on cheap or whatever, or even if for like a month pass, I would pay because there's no other way to watch live Formula 1 in the UK. But paying like a monthly subscription, which is not as expensive on a different platform, and again, not only do I get to watch Formula 1, I can watch other things like the Grand Tour and other documentaries about sport. Happy days. And you get other, you can get films, you can get whatever, so you get that and more, which is what I was saying about bringing it onto online platforms like Netflix and Amazon. People are already paying for it, so even if the price may not go up, we're just saying that we don't know, this may never happen, but if they do go to Netflix or even Amazon and the price goes up, I don't know, let's say $5 or £5, people will be like, all right, okay, fair enough, it's not that much. Or even if it doesn't go up at all, then they're still paying for it, and you know what I mean. I think it would be like a really good option for them to go off and do that.
I mean,
the
price never, when you were saying about the football there, the price never, it never changed. When they were showing the live football in December. So I guess that's one thing. But obviously that was only parts of the football.
And another thing you said there as well at the very beginning, you said you get a free trial.
Yeah.
With Amazon, I think you get a 30-day free trial, and I think it's the same.
I think Netflix don't now, because I think I've tried to get other Netflix free trials. There was a way to get around the system in the olden days, when you would talk to your friends and stuff, and they would just say, well, I just made like 50 fake emails, email addresses. I don't think Netflix offer it now, but yeah, it was good. I'll tell you what, actually, last thing, John, I was going to, just quickly mention this because you mentioned it there about, the free trial. In December, I actually got sent out a letter from Amazon. I don't even know why. I've never had Amazon Prime at this point. And I must have ordered about, 4 things off Amazon in like having the account for about, 8 years. So I got a letter from Amazon and it said, oh, like, hi Lyle, you've now got a free 30-day pass for the football. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try that out. Of course, got a few football games, a few of the games I wanted, a few just, random games that I wanted to watch, things like that. And then obviously, yes, stumbled across the other things. And it made us want to keep Amazon. I had one for 1 more month that I paid for. So that was about, I think it was $7.99. I think it was a bit cheaper than Amazon, than Netflix, but, again, still about the same price. Exactly, John. So if they gave like people 1 month free of Formula One, it might entice them to stay. Also, the fans who aren't fans of Formula One, it might want them to stay. So yeah, I like that thing. And obviously, main thing is, let us know in the comment section below what you think, about the situation. Do you want Formula One to be on Netflix, Amazon, F1 TV, things like that? And also let us know, what platform you have, what's your favourite thing to watch on Netflix and things like that. And yeah, do you think it would entice people in? But last thing, Jordan, obviously we said Amazon. You said Amazon would be a good platform, but Netflix has worked with Formula One before in Drive to Survive, and I want us to kind of we're going full circle now because we started mentioning Drive to Survive at the start. We're going to finish on Drive to Survive. How much is Netflix's relationship with Formula One being affected by that? And you said Amazon would be good, but do you think Formula One could say, well, we've used Netflix in the past, we've used that exposure to get on the channel through Drive to Survive, so now we're going to use them. We're going to be on their channel. We're going to be on Netflix, and of course you've just said there, no live races. So let's change it round to, you've said there, the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix replay.
Yeah.
They show that on YouTube, but they also show that on Netflix. Maybe a bit more, coverage, or maybe it's exactly the same thing, but on Netflix, included in the package. Do you think that would help the fans? Do you think that would help get more fans in and more exposure for F1 to say, right, instead of going to Amazon, we're going to partner up with Netflix, and we're going to make, Netflix and Formula One, a viable TV thing for the next few years?
I think that would be a good idea, because if you've got like, you can watch the highlights on YouTube, but if you're paying for Netflix, let's say, and there's the race highlights are on there, but you've got Ted Kravitz and maybe Anthony Davidson like discussing and analysing tyre wear and strategy and explaining all these things in like a simplified way, because there is a lot to take. There is a lot to take in with Formula One. It's a very complicated sport to understand. The point system, I think, is pretty simple, and learning the drivers, the circuits, and the teams, that's all bog standard. But the moment that you get confused about rules and stuff, you immediately go, whoa, I don't like this whatsoever. So if you've got someone there who, of course, knows what they're talking about, it makes life a lot easier. And sometimes they might go, oh, actually, yeah, I understand this now. That makes a bit more sense. And maybe some people will go, still don't have a clue what's going on, I'm off. It's not going to please everybody. Not every single person who watches like F1 online, or Drive to Survive, or even this thing that we've got planned, then it's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone's going to watch it, and that's fine. It's the same when Formula One was on ITV and BBC. Not everyone will go, Formula One, let's have a watch. No, it's not for me. I'm not getting the vibe or anything. I'm just going to go off. So
Yeah.
it you know what I mean? It's not, like I said, it's not everyone's cup of tea. But obviously, actually as well, I'm going to mention as well, going back to live TV on Netflix, what we said. We have said, I did say before that Netflix haven't shown any live TV, but Amazon do. They're more sport orientated, like I said. But also, Formula One were the first sport to have their own dedicated channel on Sky.
Yeah.
So if they have some sort of partnership with Netflix, who's to say Formula One will be the first major event covered live on Netflix? Like Netflix, surely they want to go forward.
I think Formula One
bringing in live TV would be a good option.
I think Formula One has a great, I know this might sound a little bit biased because obviously we're fans, but unlike Formula One is the international sport, and if anything, actually, it's probably one of the most popular international sports. I don't mean something like international football, for example, in the FIFA World Cup, because obviously they're events and things like that. They're just one-off events. Formula One is an international calendar, yearly calendar. It's the same races. You know when it's going to be on, and it's only done international as well. As I was saying now with football, they do club level, games all around the world, different leagues. So Formula One is international. No country can say it has it, for example. And I think that could happen, Jordan. So I think you're not on a bad lines there to say that Formula One would be the first sport on there. And I think we are getting very close to seeing a sport, going up with Netflix or with Amazon or even Apple TV, because obviously, they're getting in there really fast. A year ago, half a year ago, they didn't even exist, and obviously now they're one of the biggest platforms in the world. So that I think we're definitely getting close to seeing a partnership between sports on online stream. But obviously, guys, that is where we're going to end this episode. Thank you very much for watching. As we said before, leave your comments in the description box below about what you think. Would you like to see Formula 1 on Netflix, on Amazon? Also, what do you watch on Netflix? What's your favourite thing to watch? Are you a fan of all the sport documentaries and things like that, such as like The Last Dance, as I mentioned there, on Netflix, and the All or Nothing series they have on Amazon? It's interesting to see, especially now that TV is, it's slower. It's like it's going down, and obviously a lot more people are spending time on Netflix and things like that, and obviously just wow, like how fast is the world moving? A few years ago, Netflix only sent you out DVDs in the post, and a few years before that, Blockbuster was around. Wow. So I mean, Netflix F1 Blockbuster, rent your DVDs from Blockbuster, mind, F1 style. So anyway,
by the way, if anybody comment underneath that and goes, "What's Blockbuster?" Please don't, because we'll feel very old.
We already do feel old. I feel incredibly old. Like, my nostalgia of childhood was Blockbuster.
It's amazing. Blockbuster.
Wow. I'll tell you what, right? If you're ever driving through like a street or something and you still see that shop with either the Blockbuster logo outside, or if it's just a blue shop with a little, kind of like a letterbox, you used to put your DVDs through. If you see one of them, it's boarded up. You're like, oh man.
Oh man,
just
you missed
look
out.
what I
You
used to
missed
do
out.
in there. And maybe Formula 1 used to be in Blockbuster, you never know. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the video. If you do like what you've seen around here, if you do like the episode, please like and subscribe. We have so much more content coming your way throughout the 2020 season. This is, of course, part of our race week and our big F1 debate show on the Saturday. We put out our schedule every week on Twitter, so again, make sure to go and follow us over there. Link handle will be on the screen. And of course, we hope that you enjoy. And yeah, can't wait to see you along with us on our 2020 journey. So thank you very much for watching this episode, and until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.